international lyric champion into this giant tournament. Make it really epic.
Yeah, when do we get the World Cup of that? Why can't we get in?
Well, Australia was let in.
I know. I don't see how Australia got in.
By the way,
Justin Timberlake performed, but he wasn't part of the competition.
Good, because we just want to let him know, like, just so you know, just like that. Boom. Any moment we can swoop in.
That's why they don't want the U.S. to be involved.
It's an honest question. I don't understand it. How did Australia? I know
Australia has, ties to England, obviously, but also have been very enthusiastic about Eurovision. So in celebration of the 60th anniversary last year, they allowed Australia, which is like the biggest Eurovision fans outside of Europe, to send a competitor as a one-time thing. And then this year they just decided to let them do it again.
Yeah, I mean, for ratings. If it became big here, then they would let us in.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe. All right. That's it. Thanks for watching Eurovision today.
Although that being said,
an American perspective.
Why not do a 50-state or maybe a region? Oh, dude, the South versus the Midwest versus the North.
Yeah, you could do regionals.
Yeah,
right? You could have the states combine in the South, and then they send a South champion to the.
You got to figure this has been pitched at some point.
Oh yeah, I feel like it's been done. Like they're like Star Search or somebody tried that kind of.
The problem is you would have. I think the reason was that you would have an unbalanced number of contestants from certain parts of the country that would overwhelm. Well,
you just do it like the Electoral College then.
Yeah, it'd be like, oh, how many Alaskans can?
All right, we ready to go?
All right.
Yes.
We'll solve this yet. I swear. All right, here we go.
0.02% of the Daily Tech News Show were brought to you by me. If you would like to decrease my already meager equity, go to dailytechnewsshow.com/support.
This is the Daily Tech News for Thursday, May 19th, 2016. I'm Tom Merritt. Joining me today, Mr. Justin Robert Young, host of WeirdThings.com, Politics, and The Night Attack Show, among many others. How are you, Justin?
I had what is now being referred to as a real, we host Night Attack, and Night Attack would be a great way to describe how Windows 10 got on my computer. So there's been a bit of a tech kerfuffle. The best of times and the worst of times. It actually came while I was in a Vive game, which is about the most soul-sucking way that you can be ripped out of the virtual reality is to be in the middle of a Windows 10 update by the time that you realize what had happened. But aside from that, everything's great, Tom.
So wait a minute. You at some point got we've made a reservation for Windows 10 and then must have clicked X instead of no, which Microsoft takes as tacit consent, which is a problem.
As best as we can figure out, right? I mean, our studio system, which is what I'm on right now, is a shared computer between both myself and my wife, producing all sorts of stuff for Twitch and podcasts and everything. So no one knows exactly how the computer got it in its head that no matter what, anything that was happening at that specific time at night would be Windows 10 update time. However, we are living in the now. We are moving forward, and as far as just monopolizing Daily Tech News Show's intro, that's the only sacrifice. We will now get to the tech news.
All right, fine. I get it. I just think it's clear. I think it should be clear to people that Justin, like many other users, did not ignore a Windows prompt. Justin had an HTC Vive on his head and didn't see a Windows prompt. Because, they do tell you, like, hey, we're about to start this. Is that okay? But if you don't take any action anyway, you're right. Let's get to the headlines. Google announced that Android apps and the Google Play Store are coming to Chrome OS. Ladies and gentlemen, the future is happening. Google Play will start rolling out in the developer channel with M53 on the Asus Chromebook Flip, the Acer Chromebook R11, and the latest Chromebook Pixel, not the original Chromebook Pixel, interestingly enough. Over time, this will roll out to other Chromebooks in the market too. I'm seeing a lot of outlets say June for the first rollout and September for the rest, but that is not listed in Google's official announcement, so those may be rough dates that they're telling people. Interestingly, Ars Technica reports that Google is not using the app runtime for Chrome, or Arc, that it was developing. You may have heard about that. Instead, it did the entire Android framework as a container in Chrome OS, which they found to be a lot more viable than trying to do a runtime thing.
The history of Chrome and beyond it being a very popular browser and the Chromebooks, but specifically in that Chromebook system is very, very fascinating for Google. This was Google making a gigantic bet that the world to come, at the point where they were debuting Chrome as an OS and Chrome, on the Chromebooks, was going to be a fully internet-connected place, or at least enough so that they could sell these devices or inspire other manufacturers to make them. The fact that the right move was made now, that Android is really the mobile platform and it is robust enough that you can bring these apps onto this other system, kind of shows you that they have evolved on that thinking. I mean, this is what, the Chrome OS was something that kept them from doing, what was called G Drive as a fantasy years ago and is now just Google Drive. And you are kind of seeing that idea has now almost fully eroded into, I think, a better product. I think the Chromebooks will be better for having the Android and Play system.
And interestingly, not getting rid of the Chrome OS store. They're still going to have that available for things that you already use. They're just adding the Android store, which I think is a cautious step to say, you know what, we don't want to just merge these two OSs. They do have different purposes and they are coded for different environments. But let's slowly bring some cross compatibility and see where we can go. And the best part about doing the Android framework in a container means that developers will, for the most part, not have to do anything.
Yeah.
You might want to test it out and see what kind of quirks happen because you're on a device with a keyboard and mouse. But most of that is taken over by the container and translated for you.
It's going to be something else that people are going to, that developers are going to have to test for, but you're right. It's not something that you need to write a totally new version or completely revamp. I just want to note, foreshadowing, the Chrome OS, an original idea by Google, as we go forward into our discussion topic.
Well, I don't know what you're talking about, Justin. Operating systems have been around for years. Yeah.
Certainly so.
Right.
A Pittsburgh Tribune reporter took a ride in Uber's self-driving Ford Fusion, confirming Uber's street testing of autonomous cars. Uber says that the test began a few weeks ago. Uber's automated vehicles use 22 camera lenses, laser sensors, and other sensors to see as far as 100 meters in any direction. Uber says it has so far had no crashes. Uber opened its Advanced Technology Center in Pittsburgh last year. Here we go, Uber. Here we go.
This is where all the Carnegie Mellon people went to this Advanced Technology Center, and they did, and partly because they're talking to a Pittsburgh Tribune reporter, made a big deal about how Pittsburgh's perfect for testing autonomous cars because of the weather extremes it can have and the crazy parking in the hills. And I was looking at that and thinking, well, there's a lot of other cities have crazy parking in hills, but Pittsburgh does have some pretty crazy weather, and when it gets to winter, it'll be interesting how well these tests go.
Pittsburgh's not an easy city to drive in, especially if you're not from there. It's obviously a city with a lot of bridges. There's a lot of very unique traffic scenarios that happen because of that, as anybody can understand. When you have to cross a bridge, they need to get you in a single file line to go across it. It's not easy to circumvent it. It is a condensed enough downtown that you're going to have a lot of those downtown conditions. So I do think that it is a fairly unique area to do it. But let's face it, if Carnegie Mellon was in Minneapolis, they'd be saying the exact same thing.
The weather extremes in Minneapolis are crazy, and downtown's really hard. Yeah, I mean, Pittsburgh, I don't know where you'd put it. Less than Boston as far as traffic craziness, but more than Minneapolis.
Sure, yeah. I mean, I would, having driven in all those cities, Boston is easily the most annoying. Less annoying now post Big Dig, but in general, you always kind of long for the grid, right? New York City, Manhattan's a fairly easy place to drive because it has a grid. Boston is just a drunk person with a Sharpie, making a bunch of squiggles and then saying, yeah, no, the roads go there. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. If you live in Pittsburgh, let us know. How hard of a city is it to drive in?
The TeslaCrypt ransomware has shut down and they're giving everyone their data back. It's like the greatest customer service story ever here. Slovak security firm ESET asked a question on TeslaCrypt's dark website about the apparent wind down. They noticed that servers were dropping off, and the TeslaCrypt ransomware developers responded, "Project closed." Then they listed the master key that you can use to unlock all of your ransomed data and wrote, "Wait for other people, make universal decrypt software. We are sorry." ESET has a decryptor tool at welivesecurity.com, and bleepingcomputer.com has a TeslaCrypt decoder as well. And Bleeping Computer even notes that the distributors of TeslaCrypt may have moved on to Crypt XXX, leaving the makers to not have a product anymore and therefore be nice enough to post the master key for everyone, which of course sheds light on the fact that just like video games, ransomware makers have coders, developers, and distributors that are not always the same organization.
Wow. This is, I mean, number one, a setup for an amazing workplace comedy that I would love to get a peek inside of. And number two, it's very rare. I mean, in general, security stories like this don't exactly have a whole lot of left turns in terms of how these things work out. It's almost like refreshing to see, oh, look, there's diversity in stories like this.
We lost our distribution deal. Here's the key. We got paid.
Yeah.
We weren't going to get any more money out of this. Yeah. They moved on to a new one.
VR head Clay Bavor,
Yeah.
Bavor. Confirmed Google will sell its own version of the Daydream VR gear, saying on stage at I.O., quote, "And by the way, it's not just going to be partners building from the reference design. We, Google, are also going to build a controller and a headset and make it available. Google's partnering with Epic Games and the Unity on the motion sensing controller."
Yeah, the plugins for Unreal and for Unity going into Daydream as well. We're going to talk a bit more about this in the main discussion topic, as well as Google in general with what they announced at I.O. yesterday and the criticisms thereof. But kind of an interesting approach to not make that announcement in the big I.O. keynote, and then at a smaller VR-focused thing go, "Hey guys, in case you were wondering, we're totally going to make a product," although everybody was reporting we weren't yesterday because we didn't say anything about it.
So you have to wonder, without this becoming a story about whether or not their PR bulletins were in the right order or everybody was prepped properly for his presentation, which I didn't mean to be alliteration, but it turned out it was. This is what they should have led with, right? In fact, you can make an argument to say that they shouldn't have debuted the Daydream VR until they had something to show that gave people guidance as to what is best with this technology. This is a very puzzling move for them, because I think Google can and should be a major player in VR, and specifically in the idea that you could do a device that is room sensing VR without a lot of the other accoutrements that come with a higher end system like the Vive, and yet we kind of got this muddled presentation yesterday, and then we get this kind of course correction today, and yet it's all kind of vaporware, so it just sort of leaves a bit of a meh taste in at least my mouth as somebody who really wants them to succeed in this space.
Yeah, I feel like they want to do a separate announcement for their actual product, which is why they didn't mention it on the big stage, but then realized that several outlets were saying, and Google has decided not to make one, even though Google had not said specifically they would decided any such thing. In fact, apparently they decided the opposite. Adobe launched a new suite of apps called Adobe Spark for creating and sharing visual content like graphics and animated videos, making page layouts for your website. Mobile apps Adobe Post, Adobe Slate, and Adobe Voice are basically just being rebranded as Spark Post, Spark Page, and Spark Video, respectively. Web versions of all three will let you create content in the browser as well. That's new. The idea is everyday people can create professional-looking graphics and layouts and videos in minutes. Again, it's not live videos, it's animations. The service and the apps are free. Just go to spark.adobe.com and spark up your creativity.
Hey, make professional graphics every day. Thursday, Google appeared at a French data protection, Google appealed a French data protection order to remove the right to be forgotten search results and from all search engines globally. In February, Google started honoring delisting requests on all of its sites when accessed from the country the request originated from. France's CNIL fined €100,000 in March for not delisting more widely.
Yeah, so this is just the next step in Google saying, no, we're not going to remove links from other countries because of your law, and France saying, it shouldn't matter where our French citizens are in the world. Those links should be forgotten. So Google has appealed, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, we're going to see where this goes, but this is certainly going to be a very interesting line in the sand.
Google revealed it has designed its own application-specific integrated circuit, or ASIC, called the Tensor Processing Unit for running TensorFlow, Google's open-source machine learning system. The TPU has been used in data centers for more than a year now and powers things like RankBrain, which does your relevancy for search results, Street View, and assisted AlphaGo in its Go tournament. The TPU requires fewer transistors per operation because it's tailored to machine learning applications. So even though they say crazy things like, it's like a 7-year jump forward in Moore's Law, doesn't mean that they could put it in an Android phone and make it work great.
Chromebooks outshipped Macs in the U.S. for the first quarter of 2016. IDC estimates 1.6 million Macs shipped in Q1, but does not break out sales by operating system. IDC analyst Lin Huang confirmed to The Verge that, quote, Chrome OS overtook Mac OS in the U.S.
And now runs Android apps. Researchers from the University of New South Wales claim to have created photovoltaic cells that can harvest 34.5% of solar energy without concentrators. So that's just the sunlight as it hits the cells. That tops the previous maximum of 24%. The 28 square centimeter cell splits incoming sunlight into 4 bands to increase the efficiency of the energy extraction. Too expensive and hard to maintain for rooftop, they're thinking, but it could be ideal for solar towers. The efficiency record has been confirmed by the U.S. National Renewable Energy Laboratory. However, the research has yet to be peer-reviewed. So don't get too excited yet, but it sounds pretty good.
Either way, sunny days ahead. CNET reports an Australian and U.S. military research team tested a hypersonic air transport Wednesday in Woomera, South Australia. Sorry if I butchered that. The test rocket reached Mach 7.5 or 9,200 kph. To put that into perspective, that would turn the 20-hour Sydney to London trip into a 2-hour jaunt. That's barely 2 Chardonnays. This is one of the 10 tests that started in 2009. The final test is scheduled in 2018. Hachi machi, this is fast.
Yeah, I don't know where this stands on commercial viability, but Sydney to London in 2 hours? I mean, that's got to mean LA to Sydney in like an hour and a half or something, right? Hour and 45? Like,
yeah. I mean, this is, and this is kind of a bigger picture thing, but you got to figure we are at a point where air travel, which has kind of been at a relatively stagnant place for what, 30 years, 40 years in terms of like how long it takes.
I mean, if you take the Concorde out of it, which was very pricey and no longer flies, yeah, it's not much faster than it was in the 60s.
We're kind of, listen, we're due. We're due. I'm excited.
Shane in the chat room points out, you arrive in liquid form, but still really fast.
Exactly. You are poured very elegantly through a strainer and into your
like
baggage.
A Chardonnay. Thanks to all those who submitted things we used from our subreddit, and anybody who submitted things on our subreddit. Submit stories and vote on them. Let us know what you want us to talk about. dailytechnewsshow.reddit.com. Big thanks to SP Sheridan. He submitted the solar story, I believe. Steve I.O., Authkey, another J. Martin. You guys are great. Prof Pod, Flobama's back in there, Flipper Carvalho, dailytechnewsshow.reddit.com. And that is a look at the headlines. All right, let's talk a little bit more about Daydream VR because now that we know they're going to make one, We can assume that those mock-ups we saw of the reference design will probably be pretty close to what Google comes out with. Headband, ergonomic fit. Don't forget the smartphone handles the brains, the display, and the head tracking for their version of VR. Clay Baver said that they're going to make one. He also talked about the Epic Games Unreal Engine 4 plugin for Daydream that's available in preview now. There's a Unity plugin available now, and they say native Unity integration coming this summer as part of the NDK for Daydream. And of course, all the things they announced yesterday with their phone partners and their app partners. And Baver told The Verge that they will take a very strong stance on things like performance, frame rate, image, and latency when approving things for the App Store. So it won't be the rubber stamp that you get in the Google Play Store for the rest of Android. The best thing I saw out of this is Daydream Labs showing off a virtual drum set keyboard where you just do motion control and play drums. They basically created a drum set for HTC Vive and then adapted it for Daydream. So you just play drums to type in VR. But what you were expressing a little bit of hesitation at this being Google's effort in VR, Justin. Why is that?
I was hoping they were going to do an all-in-one device. I was hoping that they've hired very, very smart people. I think that they have identified a very smart direction for VR. And as somebody who's followed the space a little bit, I think that there is no doubt that the future of VR is in you being able to move seamlessly throughout a virtual space. It's what the Vive has done very, very well on a high-end level. However, I think that there's a tremendous amount of applications that could benefit from a lower-powered version that really puts its focus on that mobility and movement and room censoring. I just don't. Although I understand the desire to say, no one's going to pay X amount of money for a standalone VR thing. Everybody's got a phone. The phone, has 90% of the guts of what we need. There is just that, to me, is short-term thinking compared to right now we hooked up this Vive in my studio, right? And before Windows 10 decided to bust into my life like the Kool-Aid Man, it was an amazing experience that I'm looking forward to whenever I'm talking to somebody that is around my apartment. I want to invite them up because I know that experience is going to be amazing. And once you understand that, you just want more of that. And I think that that's where they should be chasing, and not necessarily you're always going to be compromising if you are using the phone as the guts and the display, unless you are selling a phone that is a VR device that also makes text, right? And I think that that's always just going to be a liability for them until they just go all in and make their own singular device.
I think there's a place for the Gear VRs of the world and the cardboards of the world to be an introductory, low impediment access to VR, especially as smartphone percentage rises worldwide. There's going to be more people that can just construct something out of cardboard and take advantage of an app. On the other hand, I see where you mean, which I thought it was very elegant, the idea of, hey, we're gonna hit the niche that's not $799 like an HTC Vive, but gives you a little extra boost because of an integrated system that you don't have to have your phone in or someone else's phone in if yours isn't good enough to be able to take advantage of it. I wonder though, would they still come out with that later this year, the Nexus VR, which they say, hey, it uses our Daydream reference design, but it's an entire system all in one. You don't have to put your phone in it.
I would hope so. I mean, again, I think that either Google or Apple, who has also hired a lot of very smart VR people, very much have it in their capacity to sell a device that is lower than, and again, to say that the Vive is $799 is a total lie if you do not already have a high-performance gaming PC, right? So the real out-of-the-box cost is far more than that. I think something for $400, $500 that gives you a room sensing experience is a very attractive product, especially as stuff like the Vive with a very active Steam VR market has already explored a little bit of what do people want to do in the high-end version? What doesn't need this graphics processing power? Because there's a lot of it that doesn't. There's a lot of artistic ways that you can shave off a lot of the super deep rendering that requires the high-end gaming PC. That you can just develop fun little ways to interact with it, or functional ways to interact with it.
An all-in-one VR product from Google that was a step up from Cardboard and Gear VR, but not as expensive as the HTC Vive or even the PlayStation VR.
Yeah.
Certainly wouldn't be the first. There are other companies trying this, but it would effectively have been Google leading the way into a new market. Instead, we see them doing something that already exists, just doing it slightly better. Daydream is supposed to be a better platform with more stringent requirements and the ability to shave off those things and give you a better VR experience than you would from Cardboard. That is one of the things that I heard a lot of people saying this during I/O yesterday. We were chatting in our Slack about it, and Steve Kovacs has a very good write-up about this at techinsider.io about the fact that nothing Google announced yesterday was a new idea. Is that a bad thing?
I kind of find that argument to be a little weird, in that I don't know how useful it is, because you can kind of say that always, right? And totally outside the box ideas are oftentimes not great, and specifically not great for Google.
The Nexus Q, the Google Glass, which arguably is a success in the enterprise, but nowhere else.
Sure, and you can have a real argument on whether or not it's in the enterprise, considering how much they spent on it and marketed it and what they wanted it to be. Look at the best things that Google has done, including, Google. They didn't invent search. They just did search better. They had a better way to do it. They had a great way to say to claim a whole ecosystem for smartphones with Android, and they made the decision to say, hey, look, yeah, this looks a lot like iOS, but you want to know what? We're going to make these very key differentiators, and we are going to grow our own ecosystem because it's going to be good for us. There is a lot to like about what Google does, including Google Home, which I thought was very interesting, and considering the fact that I have way more data naturally running through Google servers than I do through Amazon servers, I could see that replacing my Echo, as if it does live on to that promise and has the same kind of good voice recognition like that product does. So I think that, if anything, saying that they are out of original ideas might not be the worst thing in the world for Google, right?
Yeah.
Like that doesn't mean that they are out of good products. Like it's always a weird criticism. It's a weird criticism with Apple when Apple has made just a hit parade of, yeah, we're fourth to the party, but we're fourth to the party like the coolest kid in class is the fourth to the party, and Google, which has done really, really, really good stuff in iteration and in deciding, yeah, okay, well, yes, we understand this marketplace to be far bigger. Other people have gone left. We're going to go in the middle or right. We're just going to do a little thing different with it.
Evolutionary, not revolutionary. The question is, because we've talked before in the show about second mover advantage, right? That's what you get that's what you're shooting for with evolutionary is,
sure,
I am the second or third to the party, but because I've watched all the mistakes, I now have a better product and have learned from those people who've gone before. Google Home, I do think, is a good example of that. It is a compelling product and taking advantage of things that Google has that Amazon doesn't, such as cast-enabled devices. People may have a Chromecast, and now this Google Home will be able to work with that. People may be buying a Vizio TV that has cast-enabled. Now it's going to work with that as well. So, and then, of course, like you said, there's the whole data set that Google has a lot of people involved in already. I look at Allo, and I wonder, okay, it's a fair bet, because they're basically saying, well, we needed to come out with a chatbot, so we're going to do what Facebook did and put the chatbot in a messaging app, but we're not going to put it in a Hangout. We're going to create a whole new app, and that seems a little weird to me.
Both Allo and Duo felt to me like this is still a company that is finding who they are with Sundar Pichai making the final decisions. Hangout has always been this, I don't want to say orphan, because it's something that was almost instantly very popular, buried within another service that was not popular at all in Google+, right? Now you have a lot of people, especially in its integration with Android, that rely on it very heavily, right? And so to come out with another messaging app just feels to me like what Sundar Pichai or Google leadership would like to do is say, hey, you want to know what? What Hangout is not necessarily what the future of this medium is going to do. So let's give two products, and people can use what they want, and we'll see where we're going to go and whether or not what the very definition of the future of chat messaging is indeed going to be the future, or people just want to use this thing that, works and is popular and people like now. But it both of those products to me felt like, who are we? I don't know. You guys tell us. We're just going to put a lot of these things out here into the world, and you let us know.
Well, and don't forget, Facebook has Facebook Messenger and WhatsApp, right? Facebook owns WhatsApp. Facebook has photos in its Facebook app, but also Instagram. So there is a path where this could work. I'm not saying that this is the path, but it's not a ridiculous concept if you do it right. And I wonder
even more specifically, Facebook had messages in Facebook that they then
broke out,
in very painful fashion for many people, broke out into its own app, much to the consternation of a lot of users. So they made a very hard decision to do this. It would be interesting if Google all of a sudden said, oh yeah, no, everything that's hooked into Android, you're not going to get kicked into Hangouts now. Now you're going to get kicked into Allo.
And don't forget, Instant Apps is Google. And iOS is not doing that as far as I know. And I don't think anybody else is doing that. So they did come with something that was brand new. It's a little more esoteric, a little more developer-centric, and getting people to sample your app. But it might be the kind of thing that people start using and go, wow, this is great. Actually, I'm in this situation. I'm at a museum. I don't really want to install their app, but I want to see the map. Now I can. So that's, I think there is more going on under the hood too. I will say in my last thought about Google I/O yesterday, it was the most coherent presentation from Google that I've seen yet. There weren't these crazy Google Nexus Q balls. There weren't as many of these things where like, well, it's Google Home, but I don't really understand it. Like, I got everything they announced. Whether it's going to be a successful product or not is a separate issue.
They got to get out of that shoreline amphitheater, though. Like, are you serious? You're putting a bunch of tech bloggers and developers out in the open sun? That's
glow sticks, man.
I mean, come on.
At least put a band on at the end instead of just sending them off. Come on.
Oh, jeez. I've just felt so. I mean, like, come on. Like, I understand that maybe they don't want to pay for the Moscone anymore, but
also that they did a 360-degree stream of that. Not the best use of a 360-degree stream.
I mean, it's like, finally, I can see all the faces that go with the names on all the tech blogs I read. What a crazy thing.
All right, let's get to our pick of the day. Eric from beautiful Dayton says, hi, guys. Couple episodes behind on the show, but I used Item Cycle to sell my old iPhone. They are similar to Gazelle, but their site collects offers from other buyback companies and then calculates a higher payout price. They also only do Apple products right now, but I thought the audience would like to know. Itemcycle.com, ITEMCYCLE.com. Looked up, there's not a ton of reviews of Item Cycle out there, but the ones that I saw were fairly positive and said they got decent prices, so you might want to check them out if you're getting rid of an old Apple device.
And the good news is that comparison shopping on what you get from Gazelle and what you get from there is very easy. So
send your picks to us, folks. Feedback at dailytechnewsshow.com. You can find more picks at dailytechnewsshow.com/picks. I got some messages. Just a quick note on the Allo name, says Maz from rainy Northern Virginia. In Iran, when we answered the phone, instead of saying hello, we would say allo. I wonder if this is the case in other countries as well, and this is Google's way of saying an international allo.
No, I think it's really just a reference to what all of the tech bloggers needed after getting sunburnt by watching the I/O presentation. They needed allo.
Justin in Google Fiber Kansas City said, in response to the discussion yesterday about Google's knock knock feature in Duo, that's the one where the video of the caller starts automatically and they don't see you until you pick up. Justin says, I can think of at least one argument against such a feature. Since a phone number is all that's required to contact someone using Duo, it becomes easy to put inappropriate or offensive images in front of someone's face. You won't have a chance to say, I don't recognize that number before seeing what they have on the camera, and it'll be interesting to see if that gets abused.
Spoiler alert, it will. Whether or not the feature or Duo gets the same amount of use, is really going to be what the interesting part of it's going to be.
Are you saying that the best thing to happen to Duo might be some kind of scandal that gets everybody to understand that Duo exists?
No, I'm saying that if you see, it'll only take one horrifying, and I'm right now rotating through a list of internet meme horrifying images. It'll only take one of them for somebody to see that and say, you want to know what? Maybe not Duo.
I feel like, and maybe a Duo will work this way. I haven't looked into it close enough to find out for sure. It should only do that instant video from people you know. People you have pre-approved. Numbers that you don't know should not have that instant video. Or at least that should be a setting.
Yeah, I do think it is humanizing. I think that it is Google trying to think of a way to make this experience fun, different, and more warm and fuzzy. But in the grand Google fashion, sometimes what they understand to be human emotion is different than what humans think.
We were talking on Monday about the GTX 1080 from NVIDIA. We were mentioning yesterday that person who wrote in saying, I know it's not that big of a jump, but I want one anyway. Yaru in Malaysia said, I bought a GTX 970 last month. Graphics cards per medium income over here in Malaysia are far more expensive, exchange rates and all that, than it is to a regular person in the U.S. So it's a bigger purchase here than it is to a regular U.S. gamer. And I want a 1082. He's like, I don't care. I just got a 970. I had to spend a lot of money on it. I still am attracted to a 1080. It's just that weird thing. You see something new and you're like, maybe it's not that much better. But
I mean, it's just that like oh, come on. Like everybody wants to build the car that they can race against Vin Diesel. Like whether or not it's a computer or anything else.
Doesn't mean you have to give in to that compulsion, but it's certainly natural to have.
Sure.
And then Scott was saying yesterday that he wished iOS had the clear all apps button like Google does. In Android N now, you'll be able to click on the square. You get all of your apps that are running, quote unquote, and then you can just clear them all. And we got this email here from Chip in finally sunny and warm Boston that says, good news, there is. Except there isn't, but he's got a workaround for you. It's not really a button, more of a Control-Alt-Delete. He says, if you hold down the power button until the power slider comes up in iOS, then release the power button and hold down the home button for 5 seconds, all apps will be force quit and you will be returned to the home screen. The apps will remain in the app switcher carousel, but they will not be running. And he points out that a lot of people misunderstand whether those apps that are running in that view in iOS are really running. He's like, most of them aren't, and that's true. Also, this is much more complicated than a clear all button, I just want to say. But it is a cool thing to know about in case you want to get everything to stop running. That's a good way to do it.
An amazing tip on a totally separate element. If they did that Android N name thing on Silicon Valley, I would groan at it as a joke that would be unrealistic. It's insane that
that they're taking submissions. It's not a vote, just submissions.
I mean, for N words, literal N words. Stop it.
Nutella would be a good one. And maybe they just couldn't get the Nutella folks to cooperate on using that like they did with Kit Kat.
Yeah, well, it should be no, don't ask for public N words. No.
Well, they're not making them all by default public, so we'll get a very curated list.
We certainly will, and I pity the person who has to edit them.
Well, thank you, Justin Robert Young. I do not pity you because you're killing it out there. You're doing great. I love everything you do. What are some of those things to tell folks about?
Oh, Tom, stop it. You're going to make me blush. Everybody can go ahead and check out Night Attack, Politics, which records on Fridays. So tomorrow on DiamondClub.tv, right after Daily Tech News Show, I go live with Politics. What a heck of a week we had, and we will break it all down for you guys. But
I heard there was a primary this week, but nobody was covering it because they were talking about the other candidate who's not in a primary.
Okay, mini one sentence thing. We are in this bizarre situation right now where the candidate that is winning elections is getting no coverage because he can't win the metagame. The candidate that is losing elections is winning the metagame and yet taking on more and more water for the metagame. And the one candidate that couldn't stop shooting himself in the foot is now behaving like an adult, which is bizarre and is sending everybody off kilter. So up is down, left is right, and we'll have much more on that on the Politics show. What I did want to point out is, again, a huge thank you to all the Daily Tech News Show listeners who have bought my card game, The Contender. Speaking of politics, it's the game of presidential debate. So many great reviews, so much great feedback from DTNS listeners that have come out to live events and stuff like that. We're so excited that you guys have supported this game on the level that you have. And if you play the game and liked it, then go ahead and get our 2016 expansion. It's the largest expansion we've ever done, 100 cards, including only quotes from easily the most crazy presidential primary cycle we have had in recent memory. Marco Rubio's glitch in the New Hampshire debate, that's there. Jeb Bush's please clap. All the Trump quotes that you could possibly want, including as well as Hillary, Bernie, and of course your friend and mine, Lincoln Chafee. It's available now. You gotta buy it now though if you want to have it go out with the first wave. We just got them in from the printer yesterday, so get yours in right now. Head on over to thecontender.us and you can purchase it there.
Don't forget, folks, either that we are going to be, Justin and I both, at CreateCon.
Oh, yeah.
Coming up in Orlando on July 30th. If you want more information about that, go to createconvention.net. Maybe we could play a little Contender.
I think, listen, we're going to have a ton of them there. It's going to be an absolute blast. CreateCon, something that I am super excited to go to. To go back to my homeland of Florida and get to see my family and everything and do a rad convention. Come on. It's my dream come true.
This show only exists because enough of you want it to. If you are one of the people who is willing to keep this show in existence, go to dailytechnewsshow.com/support and pick your favorite way to support. Could be patreon.com/DTNS, could be just leaving an iTunes review, could be both. Our email address is feedback@dailytechnewsshow.com. You can give us a call, 512-59-DAILY, that's 593-2459. Catch the show live Monday through Friday, 4:30 p.m. Eastern at alphageekradio.com and diamondclub.tv. And visit our website, dailytechnewsshow.com. Back tomorrow with Len Peralta and Amber Mack as our guest. Talk to you then.
This show is part of the Frog Pants Network. Get more at frogpants.com.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.
Boom. I have a new mixer, and I forget sometimes that I have a new mixer, which works properly and means I don't have to jam the slider all the way up.
Hey!
Get the volume out of it.
Dad.
So apologies for that.
All right.
Hey, thanks WScottus1 and BioCal for putting together an impromptu headline collecting mechanism for the chat realm. You guys are great.
All right. Let's look at the temporary showbot link for the titles.
There's even voting.
Wow, that's a pretty long title. Daydream Achieve -VR with your phone -coming screen.
Daydream Achiever and I.O. King. No.
Is that an HTC Vive on your head, or are you just happy to see me? So many. What was his name for the Monkees? Davy Jones.
Davy Jones.
I used to love that show when it was a show. Cool Kids are second movers. Adobe Spark of creativity. Google daydreams of VR. Google cracks middle out. TeslaCrypt loses power. TeslaCrypt is sorry. A lot of Daydream. Daydream, the nightmare for the rest of us. $199 VR plus tax, computer graphics card, internet. Google ran out of ideas in the alphabet. Google's out of original ideas. Sydney to London in 5.2 Gs. I will add that that's something they've been kicking around for the past 20 years. Google Elephant, unafraid of French mouse.
What is?
Oh, the whole you can get to Sydney to London in like a couple of. They've been working.
Oh yeah, they've been testing this one since 2009.
There's also been, the other big revolutionary idea is in a world with especially cheaper or reusable rockets, just actually kind of blasting off and landing in.
I mean, the reason why planes today. Just a small aside. Well, let's get through the titles real quick. Titles from DTNS.
I'll be honest. I just started to tune out because they all started to sound the same. Is there one that you liked?
There's a Daydream.
Justin, was there any of them that caught your?
Let me take a look at it.
Dare to Daydream.
Dare to Daydream?
That was the one I saw. It was concise for me.
Daydream Achiever.
As much as like the Monkeys, I'm not sure if everyone would get the title.
Oh, who doesn't know Daydream Believer?
People under the age of 30. 35, I would get. 35.
No, I mean, Daydream Believers it's still used in
In what?
commercials and stuff.
Cool Kids are second movers is kind of good too. I like that.
They
Cool
do
Kids
move.
are second movers.
Sorry?
Cool Kids are second movers.
I mean, I think we should go with that. You guys?
Okay, sure.
Because I'm a second mover.
This
This is my third version of a daily news show about tech. I'm a third mover. All right.
Cool.
I just heard thunder, which is not thunder. I'm fairly sure someone just dropped something at the construction site across the street.
Maybe they're just Foley artists on the spare time. We need some thunder for the soundtrack.
It's probably just a shoot happening a street over. You're right. All right, so where were we on Eurovision?
Oh, I was saying that.
we're gonna do an American version of Eurovision.
Oh, right, the states, the
So
regionals.
how many countries do they have in Eurovision?
Well, it varies. Not every country takes part every year, but this year I think it was something in the finals. It was like 26.
We got double that almost.
Well, yeah. So all right. So if you wanted to make it a show, right, like a series, like an American Idol series,
Right.
then you do all 50 states. That's a lot of work, though.
You do face-offs, historic rivalries.
No,
you would have to do regions. I don't think you could do it by states.
Alabama versus Mississippi.
I mean,
Mississippi?
you would
Mississippi.
want to do states if you wanted to make it a season, right?
Tennessee versus Kentucky this week on Amerivision.
Why don't you just call it what it is, Star Search. National Star Search.
Yeah, but you didn't have the state pride aspect of Star Search as much. I mean, you'd have a little local pride.
Yeah, but I'm not sure how well that would, maybe in certain parts, but I think Americans are way too mobile to like, would you vote for someone from Illinois or from California?
Man, look at sports teams. Like, people get crazy.
And sports teams move cities. In fact, they move.
Give people a reason to have some kind of.
And you're saying that would make you less likely if you were allowed to vote for your own people? I would totally vote for the Florida man or woman.
You think so?
I would. Hell yeah.
I think it would work out better by region if you like the Southeast.
I like having
because Florida gets screwed. What we're gonna have to mix it up with a bunch of yokels from Georgia and
Whoa, shots fired.
I mean, listen, like I want the Florida person's like there's a shot it's hip hop, there's a shot it's EDM, it's some dentist, it's also a DJ.
What if you do both? So Florida's in the southern region and goes head to head.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. And then you have a Southern champion, a Northeast champion, a Midwest champion, a Rocky States champion, Southwest champion, West Coast champion.
Yeah, but that's your show. Your show is determining those things, and then you go to the finals, and that's your big,
It's basically the format of the Little League World Series.
Yes. What I'm saying is that we do the Little League World Series, but with pop music.
Yeah.
Well, see, if you did by region, you could take the southern, like the tip end of Florida, and group it in with like Puerto Rico and like the.
Oh, so you're saying go cultural?
Yeah.
Have a Caribbean region and then
But what else?
Dixie region.
So what? It's Miami-Dade County plus Puerto Rico plus the Keys plus what? U.S. Virgin Islands?
I mean, yeah, you're gonna have to start letting in non-U.S. territories if you really want to make.
Well,
that
then
work.
fine. Include the Dominican Republic.
Yeah.
Okay, but then we're going outside of America, right? Like,
well, let's let Canada in too. Why not?
Yeah, and then they could be part of the new. Like Quebec could be part of the Northeast. I think
Quebec will
Toronto
have its own.
But then at that point, it's just America's song contest, right?
That's great. It's even more inclusive.
It's
That's
all
fine.
America, North America.
Then what you do is you got to open up to anybody in the basic. You split America into 3, right? Like Southeast, Northeast, rest of America.
Nice.
I mean, by population, that's probably how you'd wind up doing it.
Why?
Right?
By population, I mean,
Well,
California's hitting 40 million people. It's a chunk of change.
No, it's still 50% of the population of America is on the eastern seaboard.
Yeah. In the
but I'm saying, like, are you saying, like, because it's I think it would be better, like, you would group California with, the northeastern part of Mexico or northwestern part of Mexico and maybe Arizona.
Oh, with Baja.
Oh you can't go international with the groupings.
I thought we just did. Fine. Then California gets its own. 40 million people, roughly.
California does not get its own. Stop it. You're gonna have to share.
Roger's like, if I can't have international, I'm going isolationist.
You're sharing with Portland. You're sharing with Seattle. You're sharing with Phoenix.
Fine, we split California in 2. Southern California goes with this.
Well, now here's the thing. Zoe Brings Bacon says, why not just go the world? That's where we're headed with this.
Yeah.
Is once the winner of Amerivision is crowned, then they take on the winner of Eurovision, which includes Australia already, and lots of the Middle East shows up sometimes. Israel was in there this year. So there you go. Suddenly you've got World Vision.
Isn't there a World Vision? Aren't they a charity?
Yeah, I think there is something called World Vision. You're right.
Or how about World Vision? Oh yeah, they do the sponsor a child in need. So if they win, the winner can donate $39 of their winnings to a child in need.
Here's what you do. You have your Amerivision winner, your Eurovision winner, and then one astronaut from the International Space Station and a scientist from Antarctica, all taking part.
Yeah, but that would be Chris Hadfield isn't in space anymore, right? He came back here.
Well, you could say like emeritus, to get Hadfield in there because you're gonna want him for season 1, right?
Antarctica. Who do we know in Antarctica? How could we game this to our advantage? It's really just.
Oh yeah, we're gonna end up putting South America in Amerivision at some point.
Well, yeah. But that's why, I mean, because you can't split U.S. up into more than 3, right? Because then
if you're going to go international, that it becomes problematic. I mean, at that point, you could split it up into 3 internally, but I think you have to end up with one U.S. winner that then takes on Canada, Mexico, Guatemala.
No, I feel like we get more than one. Like
oh, really? You're gonna an argument for American music exceptionalism?
Yeah, I am. Well, most of the people are gonna watch it in America anyway, right?
That's how that argument always goes, right?
Wait a minute. So do recording artists with a recording contract get to participate, or does it have to be like amateur?
No, it doesn't have to be amateurs for Eurovision, I don't think. Bonnie Tyler was the UK's representative. It just has to be an original song. So the song can't have been marketed previously.
Oh, dude. So we gotta have 3, or else we're just gonna win.
Oh no, that's a very
presumptive.
that's a very
Increase your chances of winning?
No, no, it dilutes it.
Oh, because only part of the U.S.
Yeah.
would win. I see where you're going with that. I just feel like everybody would rally around whoever survived at that point, but
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You got to keep multiple. You got to keep America voting against itself.
it's the only way to win.
Yeah.
so we'll just do blues and grays and
You
the
had to make it
territories.
political. You had to make it. Jesus.
All right. I have finished this editing, and it looks like I didn't screw it up this time. Fingers crossed.
All right, guys. Well, I'm going to get back to banging my head against my PC tower.
I hope you figure that out, man.
I actually wanted to ask you something real quick, but I wasn't sure if it appropriate to do it on.
We'll go
this
off
stream.
air. We'll talk to you guys tomorrow.
Love you guys.